SIGC participants, this is Aaron Cadle. I just wanted to say thank you for the feedback on our workshop. I agree that we could have done a better job on how does working in processing transition into the college classroom. And so one of the things I want to point out is as we ran through at a very fast pace the stuff we covered, hopefully you realized the topics match up with what you'd want to teach in a CS1 class. We want to talk about variables and conditionals and loops and methods and classes and arrays and possibly array lists and inheritance. All of those topics can be addressed in processing. What I feel like one area where we could improve is, okay, now that we've done this in processing, what does this actually look like in a, quote, real language, for example, Java? And so what I want to do in the next 5 minutes is just walk through how you could take the processing sketch you see on the screen and actually turn it into a full-fledged Java program. And it's actually easier than you think. And this would be a great lesson after you've taught students all the major topics in processing, and then you can start transitioning them into the Java language. And so I have Eclipse here, and it's been downloaded. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new Java project, and we'll call it processing example. And then what we need to do is we need to go ahead and tell this project where to find the essential processing libraries, and that's fairly easy. We go down to the import now that we've had a project created. You go into the general folder, go to File System and hit Next, and it's going to want to know where to find our libraries, and that's easy enough. Just go to Browse. Wherever you put processing on your computer, on your desktop, in the C drive, go find it. You will notice in there there's a folder called Core. We'll click on the library folder in there and just say OK. And then of course you're gonna see that there's a list of jar files, and really the one you want is the core.jar file. So click on the top one and hit Finish, and it's going to add that jar file to your project. And then one final step is if you just click on core.jar, go to the build path and just tell it to add to the build path. That way Eclipse knows to look for that jar file. And then it's just a matter of making a class. So let's go to New. I'm going to go to a new class. I'll call this Example. And it's nice enough to go ahead and create the shell for me. What you want to do, the critical import, is importing that core library. So import processing.core.star. And then if you remember during our discussion we talked about what you're really writing in this processing sketch is the guts of a p-applet. So that just means we need to extend extnds, there we go, extends p-applet. All right. And then all it is go to your sketch, take your code, copy, paste. And then, of course, we're missing the visibility identifier, so let's just add public to there and public public, and really run it as an applet. And you have your processing sketch run as a full-fledged Java class inside a professional classroom-grade IDE such as Eclipse. So, and at this point, students should hopefully maybe have the basics. They should know about all of the, if I was teaching this class, I would probably save this towards the end of the semester and just say, hey, everything you've learned still applies, but this is what it looks like in Java itself. You might have a discussion about main method and some other things at this point, but really, that code's nothing new. So if you look at this project itself, we only really added 2 lines of code that the students haven't seen already. So hopefully that helps give you a better idea of how to transition over or where you could start. If you go to the processing website and go down to the tutorial section, there is a tab that talks about processing in Eclipse, and it walks you through the steps that I just talked about. Not only that, if you wanted to go a little deeper, then you can talk about using processing in Eclipse with multiple classes. So hopefully what that will allow you to do is, if you're building more complex projects, get better debugging techniques in there rather than just this simple IDE. Once again, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to email myself, Darby, Ursula, anybody else on the team. We want to be there for you guys as you use processing in the future. Thanks, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your semester.